All right, so as Craig mentioned, I had a number of businesses that we did real estate marketing, real estate recruiting, real estate licensing. I grew up in a real estate family through my parents. They were always top producing agents, so I've been around real estate all my life. I sold and exited all those businesses back in 2019. I became a full-time business coach where I work with about a dozen different growing companies, trying to get them from 15 million to 50 million in revenues. I organize the energy and alignment and vision and communication and accountability of leadership teams. I get it all moving in the same direction. At the same time I was launching that, I launched an e-commerce store on the side just for fun. Did about $2.5 million in the first year. I did that with one part-time employee and one outsourced employee. I joined the franchise team with my parents in 2020. I run all the technology in the background for the things that are supporting you guys. So as your listings go up, we've got an AviR listings portal where we're building individual listing sites. We make sure those all get published to Facebook so that we're running ads for your listings. We publish those in a weekly newsletter that goes out to all the agents in the Conejo Valley. All of that stuff runs in the background. Make sure that I manage and organize and run all that stuff. And then last November, because I didn't have enough stuff going on, I decided to take the CEO role of a Web3 gaming studio. I won't try and explain to you guys what that is, but I will explain that we just raised $5 million at a $35 million valuation. It's not a small company, it is a huge time suck, especially when you top that on top of being a full-time real estate coach as well, or pardon me, a full-time business coach, as well as part of a real estate franchise. Depending on the day and who you ask, I would say I'm a pretty good husband and father as well. I've got 2 little daughters. I try and spend a ton of time with them. I oftentimes get the chance to walk them to school or pick them up from school. I get to go to a lot of their different sporting events, whether it's soccer or gymnastics. I take my wife out on dates regularly, several times a week. We get to go out to dinner and do fun things. We travel quite a bit. I just got back from Vegas 2 weekends ago. I'll be in Chicago this weekend. I'll be in Havasu the following weekend. I'll be in Bandon, Oregon for any golfers out there. Later in October, I've got a 5-day golf trip with some friends. I'll be in Portugal and Spain for the first 2 weeks of November. And I do all this while running my companies and organizing and being a pretty good dad and dad and husband as well. And I say all that just to let you know that the way that I've been able to do that is because over the last 20 years of my professional career, I have become a master of efficiency. And it's how I'm able to do this is by organizing and managing hyper-productive teams. I do very little of the actual work that's done in all of these things that are done around me because I've found ways to build systems, to leverage technology, to leverage outsourcing, to really take care of all of these things for me. So I'm kind of a central point, I'm kind of the brain to all these things going on, but I've got a whole bunch of hands and legs that are doing all the actual work for me. And so what I want to share today is what I've learned and how I've built these processes into my life and into my businesses over the last 2 decades, and hopefully you guys can take some things away. I'm a big frameworks guy, so I put this in a little bit of a framework: 1 truth, 1 rule, and 1 lie for managing hyper-productive teams. And what I've realized is that really this is about people, it's about systems, it's about building a right team around you, and so I'm gonna share with you everything that I've done and what my formula is, pick and choose what works for you guys, and then I'll leave some time at the end so that I can answer questions and be a little bit more specific. All right, so I sent out a survey about 3 weeks ago. I wanted Craig to say like, hey, what is it that everybody wants to learn? Like specifically, are there things that people want to know? And so I sent out a little survey. Here's some of the results. I said, do you have an assistant? About a quarter of you said you have a part-time assistant, and about 3/4 of you said that you do not. I would like to let you know that a quarter of you have more W-2 employees than me. I have 0 W-2 employees for everything that I do. Have you ever outsourced work or before through an online service? About 1/3 of you said yes, about 2/3 of you said no. So if you haven't, you're not abnormal or weird. This is probably the normality. I'm gonna try and steer you into the other direction and show you why and how you can do this in a really, really efficient manner. I'm gonna open up the entire playbook for you guys. I then asked the question, I said, what is the most important thing that you're currently doing that you'd like to have done by someone else? And so I categorized some of these answers. Somebody said taking care of my children clients. Not sure we can outsource that. That's maybe the one thing on this list that's going to be difficult. But maybe we can figure out a way to do that or give you more time to actually go manage your children clients. Social media marketing and advertising, nothing. I'm a control freak. Consistent mailings, database management, social media, handwriting notes, designing and printing marketing materials, Facebook advertising. There were a number of other responses that kind of fell into some of these buckets. For most of these, other than managing your children clients, I would say, what's stopping you from doing this tomorrow? If you tasked me with any one of these things, I promise you, I could have a high quality candidate that is working for you within 24 hours. And I'm gonna open up that playbook and show you exactly how to do that. and how to give you the confidence to move forward, that these are the right people that can really help drive your team and your business forward, to free you up to spend your time working within what I'll call your unique ability. These are the things that you are great at and the things that you love doing. And everything else, whether you're good at it, whether you're not good at it, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, anything that falls into those categories should be done by other people so that you can focus 100% of your time and energy doing the things that you love doing and the things that you are great at doing. That's your unique ability. I'll use that word a number of times throughout today. All right, so let's talk about the truth. The truth is this, that the wrong people are costing you a lot more than you think. Now, I started today by saying by managing a hyper-effective team, and you may think that, like, well, I don't have a team, I'm just a solo agent. I'm gonna call bull poop on that and say that everybody has a team, right? These can be employees and contractors, so these may be people that you pay to do a specific job for you, that comes out of your pocket. These could be your partners. So, your title reps and your lenders and your escrow officers, while you're not directly paying them, they're a part of your team that makes that transaction work. And then you've got agents as well. And again, if you're not a shareholder here who has agents below you, or working with you or kind of as part of your team, you are a part of a team, or you need agents that are friends of yours that can help fill in when you've got too many clients or when you're out of town. You need to build agents as part of your team as well. And so just think of kind of these three categories mentally as you start to structure that you absolutely have a team and you need to build a team of absolute rock stars. So how do you know if you've got rock stars? This is the question that I would always ask myself. When I had employees, this was the question that I would obsess over, particularly when it came like time for reviews and things like that. Would you enthusiastically rehire every single person on your team tomorrow, given what you know today? And the key word here is enthusiastically. And if you could not absolutely jump through the ceiling and say, I love them and I would enthusiastically rehire them, they may be the wrong people. And if they're the wrong people, they may be costing you a lot more than you think. And C players are oftentimes easy to let go of. The B players are the ones that we wouldn't enthusiastically rehire, but I don't really want to take the time to rehire somebody. Those are the ones that are most dangerous to our business, and of course the A players are the most beneficial. So let me share with you what the wrong people are actually costing you. They're costing you money. This is the obvious one, right? If you're paying somebody to do a job that somebody could be doing better, they're probably costing you money. You're wasting money. Let's skip on from that one. The second one is that they're stealing your time, and this is one that I think we very infrequently actually start to consider and quantify how much time the wrong people take away from us and how much time the right people absolutely save us. Think about the partners that you have or the contractors that you have or the loan officers that you have that are absolutely incredible and they take care of your clients and you only have to send them things one time and they're proactively educating and teaching your clients versus the ones who the loan officers don't ever really teach you what's going on. You have to spend time with your clients explaining things to them, going through the process, sending docs once or twice. They're always late on things, so you have to resend it. They're stealing your time. And in this business, it's probably even more apparent. It's kind of difficult, like where I work with like leadership teams, and it's like when you have employees, you don't realize how often, like how little you have to manage the best ones and how much you have to manage the ones that are the problem ones or the ones that are not the great players. And so they're absolutely stealing your time. And if we're talking about trying to free up all of your time to spend it 100% in your unique ability, doing those things where you're just managing or kind of doing things that other people should be doing should not ever be a part of what you're spending your time on. So they are stealing your time. The third thing is they're killing your culture. And again, I'm going to transfer this from kind of leadership teams that I work with into your business. You are trying to set a culture with every relationship that you have in every single transaction with your clients. And whether that is that you are an absolute industry expert, whether that is that you are the most punctual person on the planet, whether that is your friendliness, your partners are a reflection of every single part of that. And so if you do everything, you're always on time, you're punctual, everything that's a part of the experience that you're building for your clients, and your lender is always a little bit late on getting rates back to you, they never really follow through on time, they say they're gonna do something at 8 a.m. and it comes at 12 a.m., that is an absolute representation of you, and it is killing the culture that you guys are working so hard to build. I always say that culture is created at the fringes. It's not created at this core where you've got 7 really good partners and this one kind of AWOL partner. That's who's setting what your culture is going to feel like for that experience. And so it's really important that if you have a culture that is important to you, that you make sure that every single one of your partners falls firmly around where that culture is that you're trying to build. Because one AWOL person will set the entire tone for the culture. They are killing your culture. And then lastly, they're preventing the opportunity to have an A player in that space. to have somebody that actually makes you money, that saves you time, that enhances your culture. Every time we let somebody sit in a seat that's part of your team, or whether it's the contractors or the partners or agents that are surrounding you and being a part of your team, when you allow somebody who's not, that you wouldn't enthusiastically rehire to sit in that seat, they are taking up the space of somebody who could be absolutely great. And I just want you to think of the best partner that you have in all of your team. If you can't clone that person in every single seat, it may be time to start to rehire or look for new partners to fill into that space. And when you do that, you will reach this freedom that I have, where I can confidently reach out to every single person on my team and know that a job is being done where they are saving me money, they are saving me time, they are expanding my culture, and they are not taking up the opportunity to have anybody better in that place. So, the solution to all of this, that the team or the people around you that make up your team are costing you more than you think, is very, very simple. And again, take what you want out of this entire presentation. But if you feel like this is something I said struck a chord, this is the solution. Write a list, an actual list of every single person that makes up your team. Whether it's somebody who handles your social media, somebody who handles your title, your escrow, another agent that helps you sit in on things, your transaction coordinator, or whether it's a virtual assistant or whatever it is. And sometimes there's things that we're doing or that we should have somebody in a role that we're doing on our own rather than bringing somebody in, all those things that were listed earlier, writing note cards or right, all these things. Put that as an empty seat on that sheet. Then what I want you to do is grade every single seat that you have. And if it's not an A- or better, commit to a date that by December 31st of this year or by June of next year, whatever that date is that's comfortable for you, that you'll absolutely have those positions refilled so that you have a team that is all A players around you. And at that point, you can truly start to experience efficiency with the work that you're doing, and it can free you up to spend 100% of your time, energy, resources, everything that you want to be doing within your unique ability. So again, I'll just kind of restate the question. Would you enthusiastically rehire every single person on your team tomorrow, given what you know today? If the answer is not an enthusiastic yes, I would love for you guys to reconsider that and think about how important having an incredible, impactful team around you is to what I'm going to talk about next. All right, so the rule is this: outsource anything that can be done for half your hourly rate. And this is a little bit different, obviously, in a real estate office. You guys don't get paid by the hour. You guys get paid by the transaction. But it's really easy to figure this out, right? Just look at how much money you made last year, look how many hours you invested, divide one into the other, and it's going to spit out an hourly rate for you. That is your hourly rate. And if anything that you are doing right now can be outsourced or done by somebody else for less than half of that, please get that off of your plate and find somebody on your team who can take that away from you. What it does is it takes something that you're probably doing half-ass, that you don't really want to be doing, and it puts it into the seat of somebody who can be an absolute expert in that loves it and owns it and does it better than you can do it, and frees you up to replace that time with something that is squarely within your unique ability. This is one of the things that I've become an absolute master of. I only work within things that I'm absolutely good at, that are absolutely driving my ability to earn and provide value to the businesses or the teams that I'm working on. And so I do that by outsourcing almost everything. All right, so there's 6 benefits of outsourcing over hiring. I mentioned that I have 0 W-2 employees with everything that I do right now. It's not to say that I never have or that I never will have more W-2 employees, but I always fight tooth and nail with myself to try and find somebody that I can bring on as a outsourced work versus an insourced work whenever I can, whether that's another business, whether that's a contractor, whether that's a freelance. If I can use any of those, I always will. The last resort is actually bringing somebody on full time that I'll have to hire. There's 6 reasons that I push so hard against this. The first one is infinitely elastic and scalable. There's a lot of times in your business that you may be really, really busy and you just need more work, and then there's probably a lot of times where you probably don't need a lot of help. There's not a lot of things to do. And when we have full-time people that we've hired and we paid a salary or we pay like a fixed fee, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes they're not getting all the work done that you need, and sometimes they're sitting there playing Sudoku or something on their phone because there's just nothing to do, right? You're paying them the same regardless of what you have. When you outsource work, it's infinitely elastic and scalable. So you're only paying for the work that you need done, and you can scale up wildly as you start to free up all of your time so that you can be way more efficient. We can double or triple the business that you're coming in, and it's not putting any more stress on you, on the hiring process or anything like that. So that's benefit number 1. The second, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is that you have a master of every trade, not a jack of any. We don't need to find this general specialist that when we need marketing help, that they're trying to write postcards and do our social media and what were some of the other things? Design flyers for us and update our website. Like, we don't need to find one person that's this unicorn that can do all of that stuff that happens to be sitting here in Westlake Village looking for work, right? What we can do is we can go and find one person who is our social media person, who's an expert at social media. We can find one person who does all of my graphic design and they're an expert at graphic design. We can find one person who's great at building my website and updating my website and they're an expert at that. And so now I have specialists in everything. I don't have generalists in anything. You may say, well, that sounds like a lot of work to manage all those people. Guess what else you can hire? A person who specializes in managing a marketing team. And by the way, I do that all the time, where I am managing one person who's managing multiple people. This is traditional in a business. We see this all the time, right? You've got like C-level executives, they have their GMs below them, they have their employees below them. It's normal, that's what happens. Why can't we do this with an outsourced team as well? And by the way, when I hire that person who's really good at managing a marketing team, they are a master of managing a marketing team, not like me, right? I'm a master of selling real estate or building technology businesses or running teams or whatever it is. That's what I'm a master of, and I let them be an expert of what they're an expert of. So I don't ever have to deal with generalists. Diversification, I touched on this also. We're sometimes looking for like a unicorn person that sits right here in Westlake Village that needs exactly 32 hours of work a week, that can work within my time zones and their kids' schedules. And that's like, it's such a small pool of candidates to find perfect people that you would enthusiastically rehire. When we're dealing with an outsourced work, it's global. There's this like globalization that we can start to work with that I love. It's an endless supply of candidates and businesses and contractors and people that my pool of candidates becomes infinitely larger when I start to deal with outsourced work as opposed to W-2 employees. There's forever coverage, 24/7, 365. They work nights, they work weekends, they don't take holidays. And when I say they don't take holidays, I don't mean that they specifically don't take holidays or that they don't ever sleep, but that we can always have this mesh coverage for anything that we need. Now, you may not need nights, you may not need weekends, that's fine. You don't have to leverage that, but just knowing that it's available or knowing that if your assistant wants to go on a month-long vacation or gets sick, God forbid, ends up in the hospital for a month, you have just no coverage for that month, right? There's just nothing that you can do. But if we're working with outsourced, we just slide somebody else in, and when they're healthy, we slide somebody else out and slide them back in. It's infinitely elastic and scalable. It's really easy to get this coverage that we need. So we never have lapses in coverage. We're never overpaying when we don't need coverage. It's just this perfect blend of get the work you need when you need it, always have it there, constantly reliable, and you're never overpaying for it. The last one is that there's two more. You would enthusiastically rehire every single one of these. Oftentimes when we hire somebody, like a full-time employee, we pulled them away from another job, we've got them all excited, we've got their name tags, we've invested all this energy in them, we spend 3 weeks training, and then we find out they're the wrong person. And what do? We're like, oh man, we've invested so much into them. With outsourced, it's super easy. I slot people in 24 hours and I slot people out in 24 hours. There's nothing, there's no emotional connection. And where I work really, really hard is building systems that scale for hiring. So that if that hire didn't work out, I can swipe them out, swipe right, is that what it is? I don't know, or swipe left, and then I swipe right on somebody else, right? And I just bring them in and I try them out and see if they work. And so where I spend the majority of my time is building automated, scalable systems for hiring, and then I can move the pieces around as I need them, in and out, elastic, flex up, flex down. When I need more people, it's really easy to train because that's the way that I built all of my systems. And then the final one is that there's cost savings. Everybody knows this when you outsource, right? You save a bunch of money. When you hire somebody in the Philippines to do a job that somebody here is doing. It's why I made it last, because it's one of the many benefits. It is a benefit, it's real. And by the way, I generally get people in the Philippines or Bangladesh or India or all over the world, Canada, that have MBA degrees, and I'm paying them 1/3 of what I would pay somebody to work at McDonald's here. It's insane that I'm not just saving money, but I'm also getting a far higher candidate, a person who's actually doing the job for me. So these are some of the benefits. Let's talk about some of the tools and some of the places that I go to. So what I'm not going to talk about today is there's services or contractors that will do this for you as well. So like somebody said social media, there's a lot of this stuff, Facebook ad posting and stuff like that. You can of course go to Fiverr or Upwork and find people who will help you. There's probably, somebody can raise their hand right now and tell me that they're using a real estate specific social media company that you pay them $1,500 a month and they do it as well, right? This is another form of outsourcing, is finding like partners or companies or businesses that do what it is that you need for them, what you need them to do. Remember I said employees and contractors, I would consider that the contractor side of what we're doing as well. But for here, these are really easy tools that I use on a certainly a weekly basis to find people to do things for me. So Fiverr, anybody heard of Fiverr? Cool. So what this is really good for is like tasks instead of like recurring jobs, and for lower level skill things. So if I need like just a throw it together logo for my daughter's gymnastics team put together, I'm gonna go to Fiverr. It doesn't really matter what the quality is. I just need something turned around in 24 hours. Super easy to hire. I'll find a couple people, or I'll have a number of different portfolios that I could look through. I can have somebody hired in 10 minutes. If I need voiceover work, if I need flyers designed, if I need, I'm trying to think of just like the most recent, I oftentimes like when we'll put this on 805 Academy, this training. Well, I just send this presentation to somebody, he does all the show notes for me, turns it around in 24 hours, I pay him $15, right? So like those are things that I just don't want to do. And I'm not good at, they're not within my unique ability, it's less than half my hourly rate, it's a no-brainer, right? Fiverr's really good for that type of stuff. And then Upwork is good for either more higher skilled required tasks or longer ongoing tasks. So when I'm hiring like a virtual assistant, I would say it checks both those boxes. I want somebody who speaks really good English, incredible grammar, types proficiently, understands my values as I'm bringing them on board. So it's not just like a job for a Joe, it's a job for me. And this is gonna be longer term, right? And so I'll use Upwork for those. 2 different platforms, both provide a ton of value, both wildly easy to use, and I'm going to give you literally one of the most perfect playbooks that you could have to start to hire and find people confidently on these. I would first want to let you know that I'm not like preaching something that I'm not practicing. These are some of my stats on one of my Upwork profiles. I've hired 274 people since 2010. I've been using this. Over 21,000 hours. I've spent over $200,000. This is on outsourced people. Just to give you an idea, 21,000 hours would be 10 full-time people for an entire year. That's how much I've hired. And these are pieced out in a number of different, over 274 different jobs. So I use this regularly, and I absolutely love it. And I've become really a master of this, and it's a huge tool for me. I want to talk about some of the common misconceptions of outsourced work. Like if I were to ask all of you guys, like, hey, 2/3 of you have never hired somebody online to do a job for you, like an outsourced job, and if I were to say, like, what's stopping you? These would be some of the common misconceptions. In fact, let me just ask, for those of you who haven't used people online, what are the things that are probably stopping you from actually taking that leap?
Cost and trust.
Okay, cost and trust.
They don't speak English.
Don't speak English? When you say cost, we've talked about cost saving, so what do you mean cost?
Just like how expensive it would be.
Okay.
Not knowing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Uncertainty. Any other things?
Quality of work.
Quality of work, cool. Cool, well I've got all these in here, and I'll address each one of them. The hiring process is too tough, man. They don't even speak English. I don't have time to train them. I don't even know if they're actually working. What's the quality of work? I don't want to give my passwords to somebody in India that I don't even know. Blah, 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 right? Add whatever it is here that you guys want to put on here. I'm going to walk through every single misconception. But first, I want to share with you one of my favorite personal quotes, which is that lazy or incompetent people often complicate things to justify their inaction. Let that sink in. Lazy or incompetent people often complicate things to justify their inaction. And I'm going to simplify this for you so that there is no way that you can say that it's complicated moving forward today. You are either lazy or incompetent, or you will take action on this if it's valuable to you, right? So lazy or incompetent people often justify, go ahead, take a picture, Ryan. All right, so common misconceptions. The hiring process is too tough. I told you earlier that I could have somebody that is wildly competent, hired to do any of those things you wanted me to do within 24 hours, and I am 100% confident that I could do that. If somebody wants to bet me, I will challenge you. I'm not going to do it for free, but if somebody wants to bet, because it's not less than half my hourly rate, no, but I will have somebody hired within 24 hours for almost every position that I have, whether it's a virtual assistant that I need to do high-level things for me for a long period of time, whether it's somebody that I need to design a logo or run scripts for me or whatever it is, I almost always have somebody hired within 24 hours, regardless of how high level that is. I'm gonna show you what my hiring process is in just a second and how you can confidently hire within 24 hours. And think about this, man. Think about 24 hours versus what's the hiring process for a full-time person? Holy tomatoes. Sifting through resumes and going through like interviews and then onboarding, and like it's a month before they actually start working, and it's another month before you even know if it's going to work. That process is wildly arduous and complicated. This one is extremely simple. When you post a job, it goes out to millions of people who can figure out if they're gonna be a good match. They apply for you. You have an entire, not just like a resume that says where they went to school and what they used to work on, but an entire like work portfolio of all the things they've done on that platform. You can see how many jobs they've done, how long they've worked, what their average hourly rate has been. You get reviews from all the dozens or hundreds of people that they've worked with in the past to see exactly what they loved about them and what they didn't love about them. The transparency to this process expedites the hiring process like crazy. You can search by region, by language, by competence, by skill. Like, this hiring process is a hirer's dream. But we're afraid of it. We think it's complicated. We're overcomplicating it to justify our inaction. The second one, they don't even speak English. Not true at all. They actually test into literacy things, and they almost always are technically better at English than any of us in this room. Like, they know English really, really well because they learned it on a technical basis. They're extremely polite. They speak extremely good grammar. They type extremely proficiently. There's a lot of people that you'll have no idea where they are in the world. You'll think that they're right here, but they're typing from somebody else, somewhere else in the world, because they're just schooled and trained. I'm talking about MBA people that I'm paying $5 an hour, guys. MBA people that speak multiple languages, that are culturally diverse. It is a wildly it is a wild misconception that the fact that because they come from a different part of the world oftentimes that they don't speak great English. And then sometimes I've got one of my teams that I'm working with right now, they need 24/7 phone support. Their team internally is it's a mess. Like, this is the thing that for 18 months now, every time we show up to a quarterly meeting, it's that bookings team that they just cannot get right. It's where all of the headaches, all the time, all those costs that I talked about, the wrong people, are coming from. And I'm like, guys, have you ever thought about outsourcing this? And they're like, well, they don't speak English. They can't have an accent. I was like, it's all right. You can find people in the Philippines or in Russia or in England or in Canada or in India, all over the world, that you will have no idea that they are not coming from Nebraska in the middle of the States, right? Or from New York or wherever you want them to come from. They're also trained that you can literally filter by this, that they don't have any sort of a foreign accent, right? And so these are all things that you can do. You can get all the advantages. I don't have time to train them. My big question would be, but you have time to do the job yourself? My big thing is kind of a 5 to 1. I always think about, like, if I'm gonna do this 5 or more times, and I could train somebody in the time that it would take me to do it 5 times, I would always invest into that. Sometimes if I just have to do something once, it's less than half my hourly rate, the hiring, I might just do it. But generally, if it's an ongoing thing, something that I'm doing at least monthly, something that's taking a decent amount of my time, any sort of an amount of my time, or my mental energy. This is the other thing that we don't really even think about. So I talked about the Facebook ads that I run for all of you guys. For the first year, I blew my own rules. I posted those things for you guys for the first year. I finally hired somebody to do that, and the mental space that it freed up for me, because I had so many other things that I was doing. This was the lowest thing on my pay grade, was to post, no offense, was to post Facebook ads for your guys' listings. And if I was out for the day and I had to come home and my wife wants to make dinner and wants me to play with the kids and I've got but I have to post these, like, there was so much more that was taking away from me than just my time. It was taking my energy away. It felt like, if we talk about unique abilities up here, this was like way the heck down here, and like, I'm good at it, but I don't want to be doing that. And so I finally hired somebody to do it. And I think there's a lot of things in our life, whether it's writing postcards that aren't getting done, or whether it's posting social media that's not getting done, or whether it's all these things that, like, we want to do. And oftentimes it's not even that we're doing them, it's that we're not doing them, and that's causing us the actual bigger damage. That we feel like we should be going to the gym or eating healthier or writing postcards, right? Well, you can't hire people to go to the gym for you or eat healthier for you, but you can hire people to write postcards or post your social media, all these things that you feel like are missing from your business. And so I would say just take the time to hire them. The mental freedom and the actual benefit that it will give you to your job is wildly, it's difficult to calculate right now until you actually get it in place. I don't know if they're actually working. So this is one of the cool things that they do, because they are across the world. It is difficult to know if they're working. They have these things called work diaries. So I recently had a project that I needed to hire a video editor. I wanted to do like coaching videos, little 3 to 5 minute like social media things. I'm really good at filming them. I can't edit them, but I didn't want to take the time to edit them. It would have taken me 3 or 4 hours, just not worth my time. And I wanted them done better than I could actually do them. And so I posted this job, you'll see up here, remember this, video editing for 3 to 5 minute videos on social media. I found 4 different people that I hired. Linwell was one of them. And you can see up here, like literally his screen, these are screenshots of his computer that it's taking every 10 minutes at random intervals. And then this little green bar down here shows me how active he was, like with his mouse at that time. So I can literally see, does he have other windows open? Does he have my project? How is he actually going through the workflow? How long are things taking him? Is he actually working? I can see all of this stuff through a work diary. It's incredible. Tell me you guys have that type of visibility on anybody on your team. Nope, doesn't exist, right? I'm telling you, these are misconceptions that we actually are misconstruing them the other way, that like, we should be thinking now like, man, I really don't know what my actual W-2 assistant is doing any of the time, right? Man, I wish I had this on them, or my lender, or my, right? Like all these people, we have no transparency into what the people in front of us are actually doing. We have this illusion of efficiency and productivity and transparency because they happen to be in a similar geographic region to us that just doesn't really exist. And then the last thing is, I don't want to give some of my passwords in India. There's platforms like Upwork. We have to realize that literally I told you how I hire people is through this profile. It is everything to them, is this reputation that they have online. Unfortunately, that does not happen necessarily in the real world. I, about 7 years ago, found out that my most trusted employee, and this is not going to be foreign to anybody in this room, was stealing from me. The person who had all my passwords, she had all my bank codes, she had everything. She was a signer on my bank account, and she was stealing from me. I found it out because I was out of town one weekend, and I got a text message that said a $10,000 wire was trying to go through, and they just needed my text confirmation. And she sent me a follow-up text, said, hey, you may be getting a code. Casey needs a wire sent to one of our clients or one of our vendors or whatever she said. And unfortunately, Casey was on vacation with me. He was sitting right next to me, and I said, who's this going to? He said, I have no idea. And so we dealt with it when we got back. We found out she had stolen tens of thousands of dollars from us. That was the person who I was at her wedding. Like she would, right, like all these things. Guys, trust, because we can touch and feel them, doesn't mean that we can trust them. And I would say that the crazy part about that was later I found out that when we first hired her, she had come from the YMCA. And one of the questions we always ask in a job interview is, what's your boss gonna say when we reach out to him and ask what you were like, what it was like to work with you? And we do that so that they know that like we are actually going to reach out to their boss. That's why we phrase it that way. And she goes, he'll say I was incredible. Problem is he's going to be tough to get a hold of because they like let go of the entire department. Like that's why I am unemployed right now. Truth was she stole from him too, right? So I found that out later. She was a habitual stealer and liar, and she was really good at gaining people's trust. I say that only to say that like to think that just because they happen to be in a different part of the world that we can't trust them, and they happen to be here we can, is a wild misconception. And these people have a reputation that is fully transparent and follows them, and it gives us the ability to really know who we're hiring, I think, at a high level. In 21,000 hours of hiring people, I have zero times ever had a compromised password, a client issue I had to deal with, a missing file, a rogue, anything. So just understand that if that's a misconception or if that's a thought that you have, it is purely a misconception. All right, I don't know what my next slide is. Oh, hiring for success, quick tips.
Can you cover blah, 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 because I think
Yeah.
we've been right.
Blah, blah, blah. All right, so this is my 5-step process to absolutely crush this hiring process. This is over 285 hires plus everything I've done on Fiverr. This is the process to nailing it. Number 1, spend as much time on the job on the job title as the job description, right? I want to go back to this. I'll let you take a picture of me too, but this was the title of my job.
Is this something when we're done that you can send me to?
Oh, this is locked and key.
Yeah.
No, of course, yeah, I'm gonna videotape it. It'll be on the.
Okay.
We'll have it on 805 Academy. I can get you the deck. I can do all that stuff.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks.
Video editing for 3 to 5 minute videos on social media. Now, a lot of people would just be like video editor, right? Or like coaching video editor or things like that, right? This right here just starts to whittle down immediately people that if they can't do 3 to 5, everybody knows what a 3 to 5 minute social media video looks like, right? Like now that starts to put in like, what's the type of editing that we need? It's a lot more specific. I spent a lot of time on getting a really good title. It shrunk this hiring process wildly because if I just say video editor, I'm getting hundreds of people that are gonna be applying. Generally, when I post a job description, I have somewhere between, I know I've done a good job if I have somewhere between 5 and 20 applications within the first 5 to 6 hours, right? I don't have 100, it means that was way too broad. I don't have 3, it means it was way too niche. But if I get between 5 and 20 in the first 6 hours, and that's what I am then working with, right? The second thing is, and when you're putting the job description together,
give some level of detail, but it's all going to take place once you figure out exactly who you need. You don't need to spend a ton of time in that. They're going to have questions. And again, you're going to start to put all of this together in like a document or folder on the back end that you're just going to push to them and see how well they learn. The second thing is always add additional questions. This does two things. It reduces the bulk proposals, so it's like requiring a cover letter, right? Like where you know that like there's some time and thought. It wasn't just they weren't just machine gunning out applications. And then I have some pretty thoughtful questions that I thought of that really helped me out. So number one, particularly if it's like a job like video editing, where they're charging me by the hour, not the project, I always ask, how much time do you think it will take you to complete this project? So I'm not stuck with like a sticker shock bill where they're like, oh, I thought it was gonna be 2 hours and it was 6 hours. I'm like, well, that's not gonna work for me, right? So I can go back to the fact that they said 2 hours. I can always hold them to that. Explain the project back to me in your own words. This is one that tells me that they've read my description, they've internalized it, and it tells me how good of a job they're gonna be able to do, like executing against this. It's a shortcut to like, do you know what we're trying to accomplish here? Send links or references to similar projects that you're most proud of. So oftentimes they're gonna have, I mentioned, a whole portfolio. But what I like to do is see what are the things that they're most proud of. What do they think is their best work, right? What are the things that are most similar to the project that I'm asking for? Again, these are all shortcuts to getting a whittled down, like a filtered version of the applicants that I need to look through so that I can hire within 24 hours. The third one, hire more than one person for almost every job. So when I had that video editing project, I actually hired 4 people for the exact same video to do it. And the reason I do this is because my time is way more valuable than my money right now. And so I'm gonna trade money for time all day long. So I was like, cool, let's hire 4 people. That way I don't have to see if Limwell works out before I hire the next one, and all of a sudden this is a 4-week process. Just hire 4 people, have them do the exact same project. So what I do is I create a simple set of instructions, but detailed. I put them on a Google Drive folder, and I push that exact same set of instructions to 4 different people. It tells me now, how many questions do they have? How annoying are they gonna be? How creative are they? Like, right? Because they're all dealing with the exact same set of instructions and starting line, and then I get to adjust or kind of judge the product based on all of those factors, not just the video that they brought back to me, but how's their communication, how do they work with deadlines, how do they estimate how long it took, all these things, right? And so I always hire more than one person for almost every job, and to me, it's just worth it to pay that additional amount of money, right? The fourth thing is going to be create a folder on Google Drive to share files, instructions, etc. I already talked about this. This is not only helpful for hiring 4 people at once, it's really helpful for hiring a 5th person when I need them or when I need to scale up. Like, it just starts to automate and scale that hiring process. So I always have that folder that I can just push out. I don't have to go back to like a message where I was like, well, shoot, I sent them these individual files. I need to re-download them. I just put them on a Google Drive, send the same link to everybody, and it really, really helps. And then manage your reputation on each platform. I don't know if you saw, but within all of those jobs that I had, I was 4.99 out of 5 stars, which is really, really difficult to get, but it's because I worked really hard to protect my reputation online because I knew that that's how people would be hiring. The same way that I'm looking through their portfolio to determine who I'm gonna hire, they're looking through mine to see if I'm gonna be good to work with. And so manage your reputation. One of the ways that I would do that is I didn't end up hiring Limwell. He did actually a really good job. Of the 4 people, by the way, one person never actually showed up to the job. They just didn't do the video, okay. One person gave it back really, really quickly and really, really poorly. It looked like it was done quickly. Limwell did a really, really good job, did it within the deadline, and then I had a 4th person who gave it back and did an even better job on the same timeline. So I ended up hiring the 4th person. And what I did is I let Limwell know, thank you very much, I'll let him know if I ever need him in the future. Left him a really, really nice review online because that's what he needs is good reviews online. I left the other guy a really good review as well. It was a little bit shorter. I don't like to be dishonest, but I also don't ever like to leave anybody less than a 5-star review unless they've done something that deserves it. And then I took the 2 videos, Limwell's, and I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his name because I worked with him for like 6 months. I referred him literally 5 other people. His videos were so damn good that like 5 people were like, how do I find that guy? Like, how'd you find him? I referred him 5 other people over that 6-month period. It was really, really cool. But what I did is I took both those videos and I did a little Loom video where I just recorded my screen and I said, hey, let's watch Limwell's video. I'll tell you all the things that I loved and I just narrated as we walked through it. I like how he did this, I like how he did this, I don't like how he did this, that was a poor font choice, I don't like those colors. And then I went and watched his video and did the exact same thing. And so now he knew all the things that I liked and didn't like. It literally took me 10 minutes. I pushed him that link, he watched the video, he said, I got it. And from then on, he did all of my video work for me. I would record a video, I would upload it, he would go to work, 3 days later, I would have a completely edited, uploaded video, the thumbnails done, everything was done for me. It was really, really cool. We passed along small instructions for, getting better over time. But like to get this high quality of video, to make the process that easy, would blow your guys' minds. That would seem like something that would take forever to find this person, this diamond in the rough, but it's because of this this hiring process that I have. And so this has been rock solid for me. It's trying to break it down into the most important things.
Do the 4 people know they're competing against each other?
That's a good question. So sometimes I do let people know, because especially if it's an ongoing thing,
Yeah.
I let them know that like, hey, listen, I've got a couple other people that are doing this job, so I'm gonna kind of figure out, because they'll ask like, hey, is this gonna be ongoing work? And I may say, there's a chance for ongoing work. I'm gonna hire a couple different people. So I'll never lie to them. It's to a fault. I'm honest and transparent about things.
Yeah.
I'm terrible in like negotiations. So I'm like, hey, listen, I really do want that. Yeah, I'm honest to a fault, but yeah, I'll always be upfront with them. Again, I need to protect my reputation online too, right?
Yeah.
And so if I'm dishonest with them, or they think that they have ongoing work, Limo did a great job.
Are they honest with getting back to you and saying that they can't do it for a period of time?
Yeah, generally, again, they have to protect their reputation,
Yeah.
right? So if they tell me they're going to do something and they come in past deadlines, over budget, they don't come through, like all of a sudden I have this platform where I can kind of really hurt their ability to go get rehired. So it's one of the really cool things here, right?
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
I love it.
Cool. All right. The lie is that you need an office to run a team. That you need, I should have underlined that, need an office to run a team. I'm not telling you guys to get out of this office. What I am telling you is that to be able to run your team without an office is an absolute freedom tool that has been one of the most valuable things that I did in my life. So we learned a lot through COVID that like we don't necessarily need an office. We work from everywhere. We now Zoom everything, and whether you like it or not, that's the new reality, right? But we actually discovered this long before COVID. In fact, back in 2014, my brother and I, we were in a Class A office building. We were on the 28th floor of the Symphony Towers. We overlooked the airport. It was beautiful. We had bars and ping pong tables and conference rooms, and it was really cool. We were running a cool business. My team absolutely loved, like it was energizing to walk into this office every single day. It was something that we were proud of, and I felt like it made us better as a team. And we were paying about $5,000 a month, so about $60,000 a year, plus you add internet, utilities, and some of the other things on top of that. Probably $80,000 to $90,000 a year was the cost to have the office, insurance, all that stuff. And so our lease was up for renewal, and we're like, man, do we want to redo this? We love this place. Should we find something different? We need a new. And we're like, you know what? What if we didn't need the office? And so we went to our team and we said, hey guys, we're going to run a little experiment. Our lease is up in 2 months. I want you guys to take the next 2 weeks and work from home. And we'll come back in 2 weeks and we'll figure out, we'll kind of debrief at that point. And as we did that, we started to identify these different like needs that we have, right? So like all of a sudden where I could just be like, hey Craig, what's the, I don't know, like, what kind of coffee was that we were drinking the other day? And you're like, and like, I can't just ask you, right? So we're like, we need this like asynchronous, like ongoing communication tool, right? Then I'd be like, hey, where's that list of vendors? Like, can you give, you couldn't just hand me the list of vendors or print it out, right? Like, so we need like a place for like shared, like collaboration. I couldn't be like, hey, where are we at with that one client? Like, did we get them their landing page, right? So like project management, we're like, we needed these updates. And so we started identifying these things that we needed like tech systems to fall in here. And so we realized that once we brought everybody back, we'd filled in a lot of these tech holes and kind of had this new kind of tech way of running our business. And we asked everybody, what do you guys think of the 2 weeks? And it was unanimous. Everybody came back and said, we love it. I was more efficient. It was really cool. All the things we learned during COVID. I didn't have to waste time driving. I didn't have to get dressed every day. I didn't like all these things that were, I could do laundry in the middle of the day. Like all these things that were really, really cool that you didn't have to like leave work to pick up your kid. You just go pick up your kid really quick and bring him back, right? And so they were like, we absolutely love it, but man, I miss being with you guys. Like there's this energy that goes with being around people, especially with their people that you like. And so we realized from there that we were probably gonna kill the office. We were gonna not renew our lease. And that we needed to find ways to fix all of these things that kind of got surfaced. And so here's what we did. For our collaboration tool, we realized that we needed something that we could organize all of our documents and ideas and files and everything. We found Google Drive. This became like our Bible. Everything started moving into Google Drive. We found ways to share it. We found ways to collaborate together. This was back in 2014 when it was a good tool. This is a great tool now. Like we could be working on the same document, the same spreadsheet. We're like, oh, how do we deal with Excel? Or like we were in numbers, right? But we're like, if I updated something, I had to like save the file and then re-upload it to Google Drive so that you were working, like, it was like mind blowing. And we're like, oh man, we actually got better because of this forced new tool that we needed to be able to collaborate from anywhere. And this is where when I go back, you're gonna hear this theme again and again. When I go back to, you do not need an office to run a team, and I'm gonna challenge you to build a team that could run without an office, it's not because I'm telling you don't come into the office, it's because I'm telling you you will be a better team by not needing an office to come into. All right, so we got way better at collaboration by using something like Google Drive. You can use Box or Google, Apple, what do they call it? What does Apple call their Drive thing? I forget it always. iCloud, yeah. Whatever you guys, yeah, we all laugh, right? Whatever you guys want to use to store your documents online, it works. Just find a collaboration tool that you can store and share all your files and documents. The second thing is communication. So like, hey, what was that coffee? You know, there's small communications like that. There's bigger communication. Can you send me this thing? Where is that file? Like all of those needed to be done. There's this like constant communication that takes place between a team. So we found Slack. Slack is everybody familiar with Slack? No? Okay, so I think Google Teams is kind of a similar thing, maybe.
Microsoft Teams.
Microsoft Teams, sorry. I'm like all out of whack. It's basically like text messaging meets group text messaging. Like, so you have like these little groups that you set up, they're called channels, where it's like our marketing team or our transaction coordinating team or our just our key agents or our leadership. Like you just set up these channels and you just invite whoever's on that team into that channel, and you have this full flow of ongoing, just like a text message communication. And then you also have your DMs, where you can individually message any individual person, right? And so you have these two things, these make up, they're all shared in one place. So you have different teams, and then you have different DMs, and it's all shared in one place. Now the cool thing is what Slack's done to make it really, really easy. First of all, they have a mobile app, so whether you're on the go, or whether at your computer, or whether at your office, you have absolute access to it. It's like real time, just like text messaging, where you get pinged when you need these things. And they integrate with every tool on the planet. So like when you upload a new file to Google Drive, you can be notified in Slack automatically. When you change a calendar, upload a schedule, upload a document, move somebody along in what we're gonna talk next, which is gonna be like a project management software. If like docs have been sent to the lender and you update that in some project management software, you can be notified in Slack so that you know exactly what's going on. So like it's wildly efficient. It was way more efficient than me asking Craig what type of coffee we drank last week, right? Like this just became, we had an absolute record and history of everything that was being talked about for easy recall. Like it was just like, wow, how did we ever survive without this, right? So we got better in our collaboration, we got better in our communication, and then finally we needed to find ways for like to organize our participation. So this was like project management, like where are we at with that client? Have we checked off the files? And a lot of this stuff was done on like paper, or it was done on like printed documents, or it's done just like these things that were like asynced to where like we didn't. And so we found a tool called Asana. There's a number of tools out there, Monday, Asana, Trello, anything that you just search project management, you'll find a bunch of different softwares out there that do this now because of how valuable it is. But we've like just every client, let's say, like when we were building websites, right? Like every client we just set up, and we had this like templated folder that every time we brought on a new client, the 45 steps that need to be done, the dates that they should be done by based on when we brought that new client in, who was responsible for them. We had the ability to leave notes, leave links, all these things. When we checked off a new step, we could be notified in Slack. Like all these technologies started working together, and at any given time, I didn't have to ask Craig, like, where are we at with that client? I just open up Asana and I look at that client, right? We became more efficient as a team. We had so much more shared knowledge because of this, and guess what? It also created a lot more accountability. Like when I can jump in and see where we're at with that client, you can't be like, oh yeah, he called me back, but we're waiting on that, right? No, like that should be a note in this. We need to know exactly how these things are taking place. And so we were forced by distributing ourselves out of the office to build a far better business by bringing these three technology solutions into our business. Now, there's a pitfall on each of these that I want to warn you guys of. With the collaboration, it has to be easy to find everything that's in there. This means you need to name files the right way. Nothing bothered me more than when people would just throw a file that's like scan 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm like, no, bullshit. You rename that file, what that scan is, so that I can search it and find it any time of the day. I don't have to reach out to you. We don't have to look for it. You don't have to remember. You rename files, and everything should have a perfectly clean file and folder hierarchy and structure. So I was very dogmatic about that. I would organize it once every 3 months. I would go back in there and reorganize it, archive old files, things like that. Tried to make it wildly useful, but that's where this goes haywire, is that people are just throwing documents in there willy-nilly. There's no real structure or system to how things are actually being shared to where we can actually collaborate with them. The communication, where this goes haywire, is when we don't use whatever that communication tool is as the 95% brain single source of truth for everything that we're doing. So if we're still using text message, and we're still using email, and we're still using all these other things that we use for our business, and then, oh yeah, we'll jump into Slack from time to time, then all this communication becomes distributed, and we start to lose this like single source of truth, this archive of all the conversations that's taking place. I had a conversation with you that should have been in that channel, so now Ryan has no idea what we talked about, but we were like, hey Ryan, where's that thing? And you're like, well, what do you mean, where's that thing? Like, so all these things start to get scattered, right? So keeping everything in one place. And then the participation, where this goes haywire, is when we get too granular. So like if Craig writes in there like the 7 clients that he called, Jeff and Dave and Dan and Kelly and whatever it is, right? And all these people are in there, that's just like so much. If he just puts a line that says, called 7 clients and checks that off, I'll trust that there's either notes or there's things that he can add there that will make it simple, but we just need to like raise the bar from like to-dos to like actual project type tasks that other people will need to know about. And so that's where that goes haywire. So those are the 3 technologies that we really found. The 4th one, which is kind of an asterisk in there, was a password management software. I would highly recommend, we use LastPass. This is like, I don't know how people live without this. I don't need to give a whole speech on LastPass, but it does really 3 things. For a team, it organizes to where we can all share, restrict, change, update all these things for passwords in real time. I do not have a single password that is the same for anything for my thousands of passwords, and I don't have to remember a single one because LastPass does all the work for me. And I don't have a single password that is simple. Every single one is complicated and unique, and I can access it at any given time on my phone or my laptop. And if for some reason I lost my laptop or you guys stole my laptop from me, I could just change the master password and you're locked out of every single thing that I have. So it's a really, really cool system. I would highly recommend it for anybody for passwords. But when it comes to teams, the reason that we started LastPass back in 2014 was because that was, I couldn't be asking you for the password. Like when I signed up for something, I would just add it to a shared folder, whoever needed access would have it, and it was really, really cool. And now it's become just like, I again, don't know how I ever lived without it. So, all right, the second thing that we needed was the right approach. There's an emotional part to like not being in the office. And so here's the 4 things that we did or that we learned over time. Number 1 is that you need to check in with every team member individually on a regular basis. And this could be a phone call, it can be every week, it could be once a day, it could be whatever you want, it could be a quick Slack message, it can be in any way. It doesn't have to be like a formal sit down, but like you just need to check in. You need to let them know that you still care, that you're still interested in what they're doing, that you've got their back, that you're supporting them. Like it's really important that if you don't get that face-to-face time, that you still let people know that you're connected in some way. And so these would be intentional check-ins, not like the regular, well, me and Craig had conversation all day. I would schedule time to call him and say, hey, how are you doing? How can I support you better? What's missing? What do you need? What are you feeling, right? Like I would intentionally, and I would do that once a week with every single team member so that they knew that I had their back. The second thing was we would schedule weekly opportunities to get together face-to-face. So we did Tuesday morning weekly meetings, and then we had a Tuesday lunch. Both of those were optional. We're a fully remote team. You could come and meet us at the meeting, or you could do it from home, or you could do it from anywhere, right? You could do it from Hawaii or Cabo or Barcelona. I don't care where you're doing it from. We're remote now. Your home is just as good as Barcelona as long as you can get all your work covered and have coverage for the time that we needed. And so we would give everybody the opportunity. Almost everybody would show up to lunch. It was one of the coolest 2 hours. We'd always take extended lunches. It was like the coolest 2 hours of the week. And we they say like absence makes the heart go fonder. We appreciated that time together so much more, even though it was 2 hours and not 40 hours. We just had more fun in 2 hours than we ever had in 40 hours because we appreciated that time that we had together. The third thing was quantify the savings and then put that back into reinvest a portion of that back into culture building. So we quantified it as, let's call it $80,000 that we were saving a year. The very first thing we did was we gave every single person a $1,500 budget to go outfit their new home office. Go get the right chair, the office, the microphone, the camera, whatever the heck you want, go do it. And by the way, if you don't need $1,500 for that stuff, then go buy the new stools that you wanted for your kitchen, right? Like, we don't care. I'm not gonna ask you what you spend it on. You got $1,500. Go spend it on something to make your experience while you're working at home better than it is today. We would once a quarter, we'd schedule huge team events. So whether it was like hot air ballooning and then like a really, really nice dinner after it, whether it was, I'm trying to think of all the things we did. Like we did some really, really cool things. We'd invite spouses and we had the budget to do this without ever actually having to carve out a budget to do this. Like we were literally saving money even after we did all of that stuff. And so we just said, hey, listen, if the culture is the thing that we need to reinvest back into and protect, I wanna make sure that we have the ability to do that, and we would just spend money to make sure that we took care of that. The weekly lunches, all that type of stuff became a really big part of that. And the last thing is go out of your way to recognize people and reward people on your team. this is the other thing that, like, you know, when you're in the office, like, hey, thanks for that. Hey, I appreciate that. You know, like, you get a lot of those little things. When we're disconnected, oftentimes we may say a quick thank you, but it doesn't feel as real. And so we would take time to call people and say, like, hey, I really appreciate that you did that. We would publicly recognize them when we got together for our lunches or for our team meetings. And that was a huge part of keeping that culture going. And then we eventually empowered all of our employees, all of our team members to actually recognize and reward people as well. So we were doing a lot of like Facebook ads and stuff like that. So we were getting like millions of miles. Like, I'm not kidding, millions of like credit card miles. And so we couldn't even spend them all on trips and stuff. And so we would buy gift cards with them. And we would get every single person 3 gift cards every single quarter that they were like $50 gift cards that they couldn't use. They had to hand out to somebody else on the team and recognize them for something cool that they had done that was within line with our core values. And so they were incentivized to hand those out and recognize people. And so it was a really cool thing that we did that helped other people kind of recognize people. They got paid along the way. They felt good for handing something out that cost them absolutely nothing. Didn't really cost us anything either. It was all credit card miles, fake money or whatever. So, but yeah, that was really cool. So I would say the right technology and the right approach. And if you nail these 2 things, you will never have to work from the office. And I'm not saying don't, because I think there's something really special to the office, but your business, if you have the ability to work from anywhere in the world, your business will be far better off because of the efficiency that you've built into your business. And so this is one of the other things that we did. So going back, the truth is, the wrong people are costing you a lot more than you think. The rule is, outsource anything that can be done for less than half your hourly rate. And the lie is, you need a team, or you need an office to run a team. Now, I gave you a lot of hopefully little nuggets, some bigger things throughout the course of this. And I've been speaking and teaching and training and helping or whatever I can long enough that I know that a lot of these things will seem like really good ideas today, and 6 months from now, if I were to check in, nothing has changed in your business. And so what I would ask is this, like, if anything that you said, like, man, there are a couple people that I wouldn't enthusiastically rehire tomorrow. There are a couple things that, man, I would love to have somebody outsource for that. It's definitely less than half my hourly rate. Man, there are some tech things that, like, yeah, I really do see the inefficiencies, and maybe if whether it's a password manager or whether it's a collaboration software that, like, we actually take the time to go reorganize it and actually start using it, like, there's some nuggets of things that popped into your head that were things that, like, your life would be better if 6 months from now they were entirely fixed. And so my challenge to you is this. If you're more focused on the next 6 months than the next 6 years, then of course, don't do anything. But if you're far more focused on the next 6 years than the next 6 months, invest into yourself, invest into your business. Get into it, I don't want to brag, but like, get into a position like me where I can run and start up businesses because I have an incredible team around me. I've got all the technology and the right approach. I know how to outsource. I've just built a support team around me that is absolutely 100% incredible that I would enthusiastically rehire tomorrow, every single need that I have. And if I don't have that, I have the tools and the attention, and I understand the value to actually go do that. So I'll leave you with one final quote. This is another one of my favorite quotes. It's not also one of my own. Too many businesses and teams fail because they want to take shortcuts instead of playing the long game. But the dirty little secret is this: playing the long game is the shortcut. And so invest the time today to make yourself better for the rest of eternity. And learning those skills along the way will be really, really valuable. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I want to let you guys know that we've got a little bit of time for questions today. And then every single one of you should have my email. It's Corey@CoreyWright.com. You guys can write it down, or I'll give it to you afterwards. But I'm available 100% of the time to you guys. I know a number of you have reached out for little things or big things. If you need help with any of this stuff, clarification, you need, I'm here to help you guys. Just reach out, and again, I've got time, and that's within my unique ability. I love teaching and helping. Those are the things I'm great at and love doing, and so I'll always make time to do that and to help you guys out. So with that, I'll open it up for questions for anything that we talked about today or anything that's off topic as well.